Chapter 16. The Guardian Gland, the Liver, and Salt. The synthesis of bile, a sodium-dependent process. Your liver is your body's chemical laboratory. It performs over 500 different functions. One of the most important? Making bile. Bile is that bitter yellowish-green fluid. You need it to digest fats. Without bile, you can't absorb fat-soluble vitamins. You can't process the oils in your food. You starve even while eating. Here's what most people don't know. Bile is basically salt water, a complex saline solution. You can't make bile without salt. Your liver takes broken down red blood cells, transforms them into digestive detergent. But this transformation needs sodium, constant sodium supply. Salt is the scaffolding, the foundation. The chemistry is elegant. Your liver creates bile salts, sodium glycolic acid, sodium taurocolic acid. These are made by bonding organic acids with sodium from your diet, from the salt you eat. These bile salts are the active ingredients. They're what actually work. And sodium is a natural surfactant. It reduces surface tension. Picture a greasy pan. Add plain water, nothing happens. Add soapy water, the grease breaks up. That's what bile salts do to fat in your intestine. They break big fat globules into tiny droplets. Then enzymes can digest them. Without enough salt, your liver struggles. The bile becomes thick, sluggish. It doesn't flow properly. This is the first step toward gallstones. Now here's the brilliant part. Your body recycles bile salts, almost all of them, about 95%. After bile does its job in your intestines, special transporters grab the bile salts, send them back to the liver through blood vessels. The liver reuses them over and over. This recycling system runs on sodium, salt-powered transporters. If salt levels drop, recycling fails. Your liver must make new bile from scratch. This exhausts the organ. Your metabolism becomes sluggish. When your liver has enough salt, everything works smoothly. Bile flows freely. Fats digest easily. You feel light after meals, energized. This is what healthy digestion feels like, and it all depends on salt. 2. Bilious attacks. Salt as prevention. In the 1800s and early 1900s, people feared the bilious attack. Splitting headache, coated tongue, bitter taste, waves of nausea. Doctors called it liver stagnation. The bile gets too thick, too viscous. It stops flowing into your intestine. Instead, it backs up, seeps into your bloodstream, poisons your whole system. Why does bile get thick? Lack of salt. Without enough sodium, bile loses its fluidity. It becomes sludge. Salt prevents this. It's a choleritic. That means it increases bile volume, keeps bile thin and flowing. When you eat enough salt, sodium ions keep bile alkaline, keep it liquid. Bile doesn't settle in your gallbladder, doesn't clog your bile ducts. Old-time doctors knew this. They prescribed warm salt water in the morning for people with sluggish livers. It worked like an internal rinse, swept accumulated bile into the digestive tract. Salt also prevents gallstones. Here's how. Your liver uses bile to dump excess cholesterol, get it out of your body. But cholesterol only dissolves in bile if there's enough bile salts, sodium-based bile salts. When salt is low, bile salts become dilute. Cholesterol can't stay dissolved. It crystallizes, forms stones, hard, painful deposits in your gallbladder. With adequate salt, cholesterol stays liquid, keeps moving, gets eliminated properly. Think of salt as antifreeze for your liver, prevents solidification, keeps everything flowing. People who suffered these bilious attacks described relief when they increased salt. Mental fog lifted, appetite returned, nausea disappeared. Salt was the guardian's sword, the tool that kept liver healthy, kept bile moving, prevented toxic backup. Your liver is your largest gland. Its health depends on salt. Not occasional salt, consistent, adequate salt. 3. The preparation of nerve food. Your liver does something remarkable, something most people never learn about. It makes food for your nerves. Nerve food, actual nutrients your nervous system needs to function. Lecithin, phospholipids. These form the myelin sheath, the insulation around your nerve fibers. Without this insulation, nerve signals slow down, degrade. Your brain can't communicate with your body efficiently. Think of myelin like the plastic coating on electrical wires. Strip away that coating, signals short-circuit. Same with nerves. Without myelin, your nervous system deteriorates. Your liver manufactures these critical fats. But here's the problem. Fats don't dissolve in blood. Blood is mostly water. Oil and water don't mix. So how does your liver transport these nerve-building fats to your brain? Salt. Salt provides the osmotic pressure, the electrical environment. It allows your liver to package these nerve-building fats into transportable forms, wrap them in protein carriers that can travel through blood. When salt levels are good, this transport works beautifully. Your brain gets a steady supply of nerve food. Myelin stays thick and healthy. Signals travel fast. When salt is low, fat transport fails. The shipment gets delayed. Your nervous system becomes undernourished, literally starving for insulation material. The symptoms? Victorian doctors called it nervous debility, heightened sensitivity, irritability, anxiety, inability to handle stress, brain fog. Today we might call it burnout or nervous exhaustion, but often it's just salt deficiency affecting nerve food delivery. Salt also regulates phosphorus metabolism. Phosphorus is another key nerve component. Sodium and phosphorus work together in your liver, keeping nerve food in liquid, usable form. If salt balance gets disrupted, phosphorus compounds become heavy, difficult to absorb. Your brain lacks fuel. Thoughts slow down. Memory weakens. Salt is the solvent of thought. That's not poetry, it's physiology. When you have enough salt, you feel it. Steady hands, calm mind, mental clarity, ability to focus under pressure. Your liver is guardian of your mental function, but it needs salt to do this job, to make nerve food, to transport it, to keep your brain nourished. Every time you think clearly, salt is involved, supporting the infrastructure, enabling the chemistry, powering the transport systems. 4. Lessons from fistula experiments. The most disturbing evidence comes from old experiments, 19th century scientists studying bile. They performed biliary fistula experiments, took an animal, surgically redirected its bile duct, made the bile drain outside the body instead of into the intestines. This created artificial deprivation. The body couldn't recycle its bile salts, couldn't use them for digestion, lost all that precious sodium-rich bile. The results were horrifying and educational. These animals were fed plenty of food, good food, but they slowly starved because without bile, they couldn't digest fats. The most energy-dense part of their diet passed through unabsorbed. But something worse happened. Within days, their intestines became putrid, rotten. Food decayed inside them instead of being digested. Why? Because bile isn't just for fat digestion, it's an antiseptic. Its salt content prevents bacterial overgrowth, prevents fermentation and rot. Without bile, the gut becomes a cesspool. Bacteria multiply wildly. Food putrefies. Toxins are absorbed. The animal's breath turned foul. Their fur fell out. They became infested with parasites, all because the salt-based bile was missing. These experiments proved something crucial. Bile isn't optional. It's not just helpful, it's absolutely essential for survival. And bile is fundamentally a sodium solution. Without salt, you can't make bile. Without bile, you die, even with food in your stomach. The experiments also showed how efficiently the body normally recycles bile salts. In healthy animals, almost all bile salts return to the liver, get reused again and again. Break this cycle, and the liver exhausts itself, trying to make new bile from scratch. The metabolic strain leads to organ failure, rapid decline. These weren't long experiments. The animals died quickly once bile was withdrawn. This demonstrates how critical bile is, how critical salt is. Modern medicine doesn't do these experiments anymore, but the lessons remain valid, undeniable. When you eat salt, you're not just flavoring food, you are providing raw materials for bile, for digestion, for intestinal sanitation, for survival. Your liver is a guardian, but it can only guard if it has the tools, particularly salt. 5. The detoxification process. Your liver has another critical job: detoxification. Every day, poisons enter your body: food additives, environmental pollutants, bacterial toxins, metabolic waste. Your liver must neutralize these, transform them into harmless, excretable compounds. And guess what this process needs? Salt. Detoxification happens in 2 phases. Phase 1 oxidizes toxins, makes them reactive. Phase 2 adds molecules to them, makes them water-soluble so you can pee them out. Throughout both phases, sodium-dependent transporters are crucial. They move toxins into liver cells for processing, move processed toxins out for elimination. Without adequate salt, these transporters don't work. It's like trying to run a factory without electricity. The machinery exists, but it can't operate. Think of sodium as the currency of cellular trade. Every time a toxin crosses a membrane, sodium pays the fare. Through sodium-potassium pumps, through sodium-coupled transporters. The entire detoxification assembly line runs on salt. When salt levels drop, detoxification slows. Toxins accumulate in liver tissue. This creates inflammation, oxidative stress, progressive damage. What starts as mineral deficiency becomes chronic liver dysfunction. Salt also maintains liver blood flow. Your liver receives about 1/4 of all the blood your heart pumps. This massive blood supply brings toxins in, carries processed compounds out. The pressure and volume of this blood flow depend on sodium balance. In salt-deficient states, blood volume drops, pressure falls. Less blood reaches the liver. Toxins that should be filtered keep circulating, poison your whole system. You feel it everywhere: fatigue, brain fog, skin problems, weak immunity. This is what compromised liver detoxification feels like, a feeling of being poisoned from within, because you are. Ironically, many detox trends recommend low salt. This backfires. Without adequate salt, your liver can't effectively process and eliminate toxins. The lesson is clear. Your liver is your primary defense against poisons, but this defense system needs salt to operate, not as optional enhancement, as essential fuel. Every detoxification pathway depends on sodium gradients, on salt-based transporters, on the electrical and osmotic forces that sodium creates. When you provide adequate salt, you empower your liver. When you restrict salt unnecessarily, you compromise protection, leave your body vulnerable to toxic buildup. Your liver wants to protect you. It's designed to, but it needs the right tools, and the most fundamental tool is salt. The guardian gland guards, but only if you give it what it needs to do the job.